Hi everybody, my name is Sarah Highline and I watched Enron, the Smartest Guys in the Room. This was the story of the corporate supergiant Enron, who was in the oil and natural gas industry. Enron, at the height of its success, was the 7th largest corporation with a value of $70 billion. The rise and fall of Enron is the perfect dialogue of how to not do business. The main players involved in the fraud that occurred at Enron were Ken Lay, Jeff Skillings, and Andy Fastow. Ken Lay was the founder and was the chairman, and later retook the position of CEO after Skillings' resignation. Jeff Skillings was the president and CEO, and Andy Fastow was the CFO. Ken Lay founded Enron in 1985 and was considered to be a man of great integrity. Lay's first financial obstacle came in 1987, though, known as the Valhalla scandal. This is when 2 traders were charged with the misappropriation of monies. The traders' job was to make bets on the oil prices. They were charged with using corporate funds for personal use, having offshore accounts, and using phony accounts. Auditors informed Lay that the traders were manipulating earnings and the daily trade records were being destroyed. Lay still made no changes, and instead of getting rid of the traders, he actually asked them to keep making him millions. After losing the 2 traders, Lay brought in Jeff Skilling. Skilling was considered to be the answer for the future with his ideas. In 1992, Enron was the largest buyer and seller of natural gas. But with Skilling also came the accounting practice known as mark-to-market, which allowed Enron to book future potential profits the same day a deal was signed. This allowed them to make profits whatever they wanted to and was left open to complete manipulation. Jeff Skilling also came up with the HFV, which was the hypothetical future value. This was approved by Anderson and the SEC for him to use the mark-to-marketing. Enron was named the most innovative company in America for 6 years in a row. Andy Fastow used his companies to hide the losses of Enron so that they were always considered to be profitable. Merrill Lynch even bought 3 Nigerian barges and then sold them back to Enron 5 months later just so that Enron could keep the barges out of its financial statements. But the cooking of the books was not the only thing that was happening at Enron. Traders at Enron were purposely shutting down power plants in California so that they could drive up the cost of power. Personally, I found this a little bit disgusting when they were joking around and joking about grandma and then even laughing about a wildfire, hoping that it would continue. After Skilling stepped down and Lay took over as the CEO, Sharon Watkins, which was the vice president, notified Lay that there was problems at Enron, but nobody listened. The SEC even began an investigation, and it was feared after a restatement that the mark-to-market profits were actually losses and would be seen as losses in the restatements. Arthur Andersen, the audit firm for Enron, destroyed 1 ton of financial accounting information that belonged to Enron. On 12/2/2001, Enron declared bankruptcy, which was considered to be the largest corporate bankruptcy. And as a result, 20,000 people lost their jobs and billions of dollars were lost by shareholders. For accounting students and professionals, there are a few lessons on ethics that we can take from this. If Anderson or the SEC had decided that the practice of mark-to-market was unethical, chances are Enron could have been stopped from causing so much damage. The tone at the top was also not present. Top management should have set the tone for an ethical environment. The culture at Enron was cutthroat, even having a committee that had to rank employees from 1 to 5, with at least 10% receiving a ranking of 5 and then being terminated. Fastow's actions are a perfect example of how the fraud triangle is a real-life concern. The pressure and incentive to keep the stock price up caused officers to act in very unethical ways. I consider mark-to-market unethical because it is It is really nothing but early revenue recognition on revenue that sometimes never even existed. The traders' actions of purposely shutting down power plants to drive up the price of power was completely unethical. Enron should be used as a model of how bad things can get in a company and how it can also be used to study on how the ethical slippery slope is so easy to get started and then how it can be so difficult to get off of it. Thank you everybody for listening.